My Lords, in following the Noble Lord, Lord Lee, I have to note that, of course, capitalism focused on shareholder returns is dependent entirely on the natural world and a functioning society. There are no shareholder returns on a dead planet or a collapsed society. Now, I want to begin by thanking the Noble Lord, Lord Monks for providing this opportunity to assess the enormous and widespread damage private equity has done to the UK and the world, with some $13 trillion now held across 50,000 companies worldwide. Their tentacles spread, particularly for the relatively poor, into every aspect of their lives, being their landlords, their electricity and water providers, their providers of travel to work, their employers, their doctors, their debt collectors, and even caring very expensively for their pets. It is indeed, as has been described in virological terms, a financial pandemic. Now, the author Megan Greenwell, in her book Bad Company, is focused on the US and, as she identifies, the death of the American dream, which is associated with private equity. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. She tellingly contrasts venture capital, which seeks to invest money mostly in startups to support the development of something new, with private equity, which typically buys companies outright, often mature and established companies, and the private equity aim is to get money out of the company without really caring or not whether the company actually makes any money or not. They are parasitic. We all know the ways, as Noble Lord, Lord Monks outlined, selling the company's land and buildings, which are frequently bought through high-interest loans from related companies, then charging the company rent to continue to occupy its own premises. Money is pumped out in dividends, what is not already being drained by the interest payments. Those are the returns that the noble lady Baroness Stedman Stott referred to. Then we see the buyer slashing the workforce, cutting the quality of services and products, and it all crashes and burns in a couple of years, as it has in so many cases, and then the private equity firm moves on to the next victim. But as evidence has been made recently to our own Public Accounts Committee, some of the most vulnerable people in our society are suffering worst as individuals from this model. The Public Accounts Committee inquiry launched in July 2025 was prompted by the National Audit Office research, showing the cost of children's residential care placements has risen 96% since 2019. It heard from the Children's Homes Association, which has removed tax haven-based private equity providers from its membership, and called them out, pointing out that there are now large national providers with several hundred placements earning windfall profits from the coffers of local authorities that are then shipped straight off to tax havens. The Chief Executive of the Children's Homes Association told the Public Accounts Committee that the measures in the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill will not deal with this situation. He asked, is there political will to tackle tax haven-based private equity providers? I asked the Minister that question directly and non-rhetorically. Will the government get private equity out of children's care, out of aged care and disabled homes, where it has been doing similar damage for decades? Indeed, these were issues also raised by the noble lady Baroness Mayo. My second question to the Minister is about the welfare of us all. We can all continue to see the enormous price paid by the young, the poor, the disabled after the financial crash of 2007-2008, caused by the greed and fraud of the bankers. Now we're hearing increasing warnings about the risk of it all happening again from multiple quarters, from the AI fantasy bubble to the cryptomania, but also from the risks of collapse of the private equity model. For there are only so many juicy plump targets from which money can be sucked, and they are drying up as our economies are hollowed out, financialised, with few sectors not left already victim. As the Bank of England Stability Committee reported last year, vulnerabilities from high leverage, opacity around valuations, variable risk management practices, and strong interconnections with riskier credit markets mean the sector has the potential to generate losses for banks and institutional investors. Natasha Postel-Vinny, an assistant professor at the London School of Economics, said in commentary, I think a lot of people don't know exactly what's going on. So another question to the Noble Lord the Minister: can the government say, hand on heart, they are confident that the regulators and the government itself know what's going on in terms of the financial risks being presented by private equity, particularly in light of the obscurity as outlined by the Noble Lord Davies? Now, finally, I want to finish on a message of hope, because I'm always looking for hope. And one of the reasons I recommend Greenwell's book is that she talks about the people who are fighting back against the damage done by private equity, the workers, the communities that are fighting back. So, my final question to the Noble Lord the Minister: what is the government going to do to fight back, to tackle some of the tax issues that have already been raised by other Noble Lords? They are, after all, the government. Surely the state of the country and the economy is their ultimate responsibility.